Hello all, my name is Jerry Rothkoff, the managing attorney of Rothkoff Law Group, an elder care firm serving seniors and their family members in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey. This is our continuing series of getting to know some of our professional partners a little better. And today we are privileged to have David Bailey, who is the Community Sales Director at Brightview Mount Laurel Assisted Living Community. Welcome, Dave.
Hey, Jerry. Nice to be here with you today. Certainly, I wish we were sitting side by side, but this is the best we can do for now, so it's always nice to be in your presence.
Same here, Dave. We've known each other for, I'm guessing it's bordering 15 or so years, give or take, something like that. And I know, you've been in working in the assisted living industry for certainly the past decade and a half plus. So
hey, can I tell you how I got started?
That was going to be my question to you, David. How did you guess?
Very good.
I like the enthusiasm.
Thank you. So, the funny thing is, when you're a young person and you're in school, nobody comes to your school and says, well, certainly not back in the 60s and 70s, I'm a sales director at an assisted living community. Those professions didn't exist. So as I've grown in my career and as I've gotten older, I found my way to this job, but I believe that I was called to it. I actually started my career in assisted living about 20 years ago as a volunteer. Around the corner from my house in Mount Holly, a little place called the Samuel E. Miller Home. I used to let my dogs out my front door, and these two ladies would come walking by, and my dogs would greet them, and they had said to me, oh, could you ever bring them to our community? We have so many residents there that don't have pets that would love to see a dog. Well, little did I know at the time that there was an actual pet certification that you would need to be a therapy dog. I had no idea. So I brought my 4 dogs to the Samuel E. Miller home, to a very large community room where about 40 residents sat. And I just took the leashes off and let them run. And mayhem ensued, and everybody had a great time. The dogs came home very fat that day with lots of treats. And week after week, I would go back with my dogs, with my cats. I started a music program with those residents. And in my professional life at the time, I was in marketing and advertising. And 6 of my clients were assisted living communities. And as they got a hold of what it is that I was doing, I started to develop a more closer relationship with them. Until one day, one of the companies said, we need for you to come and work inside here with us. We think you're the right person for the job. And my career in assisted living began. But it started here.
Although we provide different services, but we work with seniors. Mm-hmm. And they're, of course, their families. And it's interesting. It sounds like similar to how I got started. You started working in the senior community, so to speak, kind of by happenstance. You lived right near a community and you had a dog, and it sounds like you didn't wake up, in high school and thinking, God, I love seniors. I would love to work with seniors. I really enjoy the camaraderie working with them. That really didn't sound like how you got started, but I guess it was something that I guess that you were an area that you were attracted to because it fit your personality, it sounds like.
So Jerry, as I grew up in northern New Jersey, my mother was the youngest of 9 children, and my mother was the so-called nurse in the family. No medical degree, but anybody who was sick in the family, my mother would go and stay at their house, or most of the time bring them into our home to take care of them. And as we had uncles who were living with us, I remember when I was 4 years old, changing my great uncle Lawrence, we called him Laurie, Uncle Laurie, I used to change his trach tube. 4 years old, I used to take that out and clean it. My grandmother had a glass eye. I used to take her eye out and clean her eye and put it back in. And when you grow up as a child with these things in your home, well, you think the kid next door is doing the same thing. You don't know any different. But my sister and I also got to experience life in other people's homes. As my mother was caring for someone, my sister and I would go to Nana Graziano, who lived across the street. Nana was no blood relation to us, but Nana was the midwife that actually delivered my mother. So our families had been connected and very close. And probably at the age of 4, when I'm over Nana's house, she used to read the Blondie comics to me every Sunday. And as I'm starting to learn how to read, I noticed that Nana is skipping over some words and she's speaking to me in Italian. And by the time I'm 5, almost all of her reading comes out in Italian. By the time I'm 7, she's no longer calling me David, she's calling me Leonard, her son's name, who was in his 50s at the time. And then, of course, Nana would show up at parties and she'd bring food and cookies and would take them out of her dress and start handing them out. And we simply called it senility back then. We know it today, of course, as Alzheimer's, as she continued to progress through the disease. But when you grow up with that as a kid, you think everybody has a Nana that does something funny and crazy. And for me and my family, we were able to laugh through a lot of this with Nana. Of course, for my Aunt Flora, who was her primary caregiver, you know, it might have been a little bit different. But growing up with Nana and being able to care for her to till her last days, when she was only eating ice cream and mashed potatoes with one finger, I saw the whole progression of the disease, although we didn't know the name for it then. I certainly reflect back on that today. As I talked about Nana coming to these parties, as well as the cookies that she would bring other trinkets from the house. And when my sister and I were very young, my Aunt Flora had a collection of Hummel figurines. And usually little boys and girls, I believe very German looking, rosy cheeks. And my sister and I, when we would look at them, we thought that they were figurines of us. I couldn't figure out why else people would have figurines. And we were allowed to play with them in my Aunt Flora's house. And as Nana got a little bit further into her disease, as well as bringing cookies, she would bring these figurines, which were extremely valuable, hide them in her clothes and bring them to parties for my sister and I. And now I'm 11 years old, and she's pulling these things out for me to play with. And of course, we're trying to wrap them up and put them back in. But when my Aunt Flora passed away, I received the collection of the Hummels. And I'll tell you that every one of them is broken and chipped and cracked, but they're loaded with great memories of my family.
Right, that you use now to relate to the families that you work and the residents you work with on a daily basis. I think we all have those so-called Hummels. You know, whatever, you know, for myself, you know, it's my grandmother's recipes, or I have a book of my grandmother who also had Alzheimer's disease. I have a book of her Yiddish jokes. So it's jokes, but in Yiddish. And if you ever heard her tell stories or dirty jokes in Yiddish, they always sound so much better in Yiddish than they do in English. Even though you have no idea what she's saying, it sounds so much better. The dirty Yiddish jokes.
Oh my God.
But let's talk about, you know, how you utilize the memories from your families and how you bring that today, especially related to COVID-19. That's obviously we're all struggling with in the senior service community, and you know, obviously for Brightview and yourself, it's in the assisted living setting. Talk to us a little bit about what's going on currently at Brightview Mount Laurel. Where are you currently, and you know, how are you coping with the situation overall?
So a loaded question there, and I'm going to take this back quite a few steps. My job here is to introduce assisted living to families and to great benefits that this community style of life can offer to a senior. it has been proven that in a community setting where people don't face that isolation every day, that this can actually extend their lives. Knowing that that is something that I focus on every day to enhance someone's quality of life, have them get up every day with a purpose, have them come and sit at a table and have a meal with a friend. All of those things have to now take a back seat, because as a human being relating to other human people, I need to say to them, today, this is not the safest place for you to be. Isolation is the key right now. Quarantining yourself away from other people who are at risk is the best medicine today. So I fight that with knowing the value of community living with what our priorities are today. And it becomes very difficult to say to someone, it's not today. Today's not going to be the day that you get the ability to be in this community. But I have to think of who you are and who my residents are here and how I can best protect them by not bringing anyone into this community today. So as we stand here in assisted living, we are no longer, or today, which is May 27th, I believe, we are still quarantining our residents. We are not allowing them visitation from family or outside sources unless it is for a medical need. And we have asked that families simply do the Zoom calls like we're doing to connect. Some people come by and they'll wave at a window. So there's been some window meetings, but there's been no in-person contact at this time. And we feel that we're doing a very good job at keeping that disease on the outside.
I think, and obviously that goes against all your professional instincts as a director of community relations, community
Correct.
sales director. Obviously, your job is to meet with families and talk to them about why Brightview, Mount Laurel, or any Brightview community for that matter, would be an appropriate setting for their loved one.
Correct.
And so, but safety first, so to speak, no doubt. But I think we're all doing that in different ways, and there is no perfect solution. It's a risk utility analysis. What is better to address the needs of a vulnerable population? Is it better for them to sit in isolation in their own home, or without possibly their family visiting them? Or is it better to be in an assisted living protective setting? I don't have the answer. So, but we're all dealing with it in whatever service we're providing. When is the right time to open up? When is the right time to open a nursing home or assisted living or independent community to visitors? I mean, we can talk about the people who are prospective residents, but obviously there's also needs of your existing residents as well to meet. So there's no easy answer to this, and I don't profess to have an easy solution. But it's great that people like you, Dave, are available as a resource for families that they can counsel with. And you can give them the lay of the land and educate them. And I have great respect for individuals like yourself, whose job is to entice residents to come to the community to say, whoa, now may not be the best time. So, so I thank you for providing those valuable services and being a valuable resource to both our office and our clients over the years, as well as the public at large. Let's talk a little about, before we end, this 15 minutes or so went quite fast. Let's talk about what you'd like to do for fun outside of working in the senior service industry. I know one of your favorite activities to do, you can't do right now. I know that. So one of your favorite pastimes. So How are you dealing with that? And for those of you who don't know Dave, he's a huge fan of Broadway or any shows, Broadway, local productions. He's there probably a few times a week watching some show or musical. So how are you dealing with that, Dave?
So that's correct, Jerry. And of course, you and I know we sometimes see each other at the theater, which is a wonderful thing. So my outlets now is to try to find whatever I can digitally to download and to watch. But every night my husband and I are playing around on Facebook. Mostly it's me, and I drag him into this. And I do a Broadway show lyric challenge. So it's me in my kitchen. My my tripod for my camera, which is my phone, is one of my kitchen cabinets. It gives a good view of my face and not my big belly. And I'll do maybe 15 or 20 seconds of a show tune and post that on Facebook. And some of these are very obscure, and then people have to write me back. They give me the last 2 letters of the title of the show, and I've been having a great time with that.
Okay.
Just the other night, we did we did the closing of Act 1 of Sweeney Todd. So we did the last 16 bars, and I made my own props out of cardboard. I had a rolling pin in one hand and a cleaver in the other, but my rolling pin actually looked more like a Torah. So that's the end of Act 1. And
yeah, I actually saw a local production of that show a few years ago. That is a really depressing show, just if I recall, Dave. Maybe
so
that,
wonderful.
right? I mean, that's kind of a freaky show, as I recall.
It is. It's a freaky show, but the music is so great. It's an incredible story, and if you just go on the ride and enjoy the music, you can enjoy that piece of theater. Sometimes it's fun to be a little uneasy or scared when you go to the theater. That's definitely the show to get scared at.
Okay, wonderful. All right, well, Dave, 15, 20 minutes zooms by, because of course we're on a Zoom interview, so that's why I'm assuming, but it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you a little bit about your background and what you do and why you do. So it's great knowing you over a decade plus. We look forward to continue working with you and your Brightview team. Keep up the great work. Thank you for all you do for seniors. Thank you all you do for our clients and their family members. So with that, hopefully I'll see you in the not too distant future at the Academy of Music, or hopefully at a local event in the near future, Dave. So thanks again.
Jerry, stay safe. Give my best to everybody in the office and everybody under your own household roof.
Same. Thanks, Dave.
Take care.